Here's a unit that exists that I might have forgotten exists. Well, you never see them used. Pump wagons and specifically spiky rollers. We've also got a unit of flappers here. This replay from Glorious Feeder. Empire versus Greenskins. Azag leading the way with a couple of pump wagons. We've got a Gobbo Big Boss, some Spider Rider Archers, Savage Orcs, and some Orc Boys as well, and lots of Squig Hoppers, which I do actually like to pick up Squig Hoppers. This is almost like outside of the, the pump wagons, this is almost like an early or mid-patch kind of Greenskins build for Total War Warhammer 2. Up against the Empire, I've got Boris, fairly traditional, a couple of great swords, I guess not super traditional, but plenty of Spearmen, Swordsmen, Empire Knights, Handgunners. I've also got an Amethyst Wizard for Spirit Leeches, and not Doomblight, what is it? What is it? Doom and Darkness, that's it. Soul Blight. The other one, that's the one that Azag actually has, Soul Blight and Spirit Leech. And one thing about the spiky rollers you might not know, because you never see them taken, is the fact that they have armor sundering. So you've got a couple of units with the Greenskins that have armor sundering. Obviously, Rusty Errors, Regiment of Renown. You got the Warlord's Boys, Regiment of Renown. 8 Peak Loons are actually back here. No Warlord's Boys, but also the spiky rollers do have armor sundering. So we've got a number of armor sundering tools on the field then. I mean, obviously, Soul Blight plus this regular armor sundering is minus 60 in total. But, of course, with characters, this Gobbo Big Boss here also has They Need Stabbing, usable only on a Lord or Hero, but it's an additional 30 armor, 27 melee defense, so potentially, if you stack all three of those, you could get Boris down to 0 armor, but that's a big potentially. Boris himself coming in full strong with all of his stuff. Spider Rider's kind of picking away at the flanks here as Glorious Feeder moves up. Yeah, the Squig Hopper's an interesting one. They have poison and immune to psychology. Vanguard deployment, but relatively low combat stats, even though they are armor-piercing anti-infantry. Their attack defense are very poor. Charge bonus is not amazing. Durkit Squigs, they get, like, extra stats for the cost, and they also pick up some missile resistance as well. And again, the immune to psychology means while they're not really meant for fighting monsters against, like, a Griffin character, they can help hold when others might otherwise tear her out. But Greenskins kind of picking away here. Empire out in the open, trying not to get pulled into too many unfavorable engagements, and a nice hammering here from Boris. And the Empire Knights out near this little pond of Blue Reach River, just crumping these Orc Boys right in the face. Spearmen going to follow up there. Meanwhile, the pump wagons are kind of moving up to overload this flank here. Gobbo Big Boss taking some free volleys from the handgunners, a little bit painful. Also got to watch out for the Spirit Leech there, but it looks like the Amethyst Wizard preserving the Spirit Leech for Azag. He's taking a little bit of damage already. Going to have to obviously avoid Boris, but the Wolf Rider is also getting in the back line here, trying to disrupt, keep those Empire Knights from cycle charging the infantry too much. Try and get in and get after these handgunners a little bit here. Some nice collapse, good protection from the Empire player, getting those Spearmen in a position to mostly block that Wolf Rider charge. But the spiky rollers, you can see here in combat against the Empire Knights, debuffing their armor, so the Orc Boys and the Savage Orcs can just punch them that much harder. I do have to say, pump wagons are an awesome unit aesthetically and thematically. Unfortunately, they're not amazing right now, although the cavalry beta does actually help them somewhat not get killed quite so quickly by infantry. But like, look at this here, 0 armor, 0 armor. Yeah, most of these units in here get, oh no, this is a Doom and Darkness. I was gonna say that's not, doesn't seem right. Waiting for a Soul Blight to come out. Anyway, there's Wah being popped now. Nice big damage spike across the field. We've got Squig Hoppers moving in, maybe chasing some routing units here as well. The Empire's responding. We've got some Knights here in a rear charge. The 8 Peak Loons, I missed it earlier, but they actually used a Fanatics cast that basically killed the entire unit. Also killed an entire unit of Greatswords, but, you know, that's just how things go sometimes. But Spirit Leech and Charge from Boris on Azag. He's going to have to get back up into the air and run the heck away. Not wanting any part of that, but here comes the combo. Soul Blight, you can see there, these Greatswords down to 35. And I was actually watching this replay. I didn't even realize that these were spiky rollers until I was like, why do those Greatswords only have 35 armor? That doesn't seem right. They only should have, 65 armor because of Soul Blight. But no, in fact, spiky rollers are rolling over them right now, meaning the Savage Orcs, the Orc Boys are all going to be doing extra damage during that uptime as well. So, a pretty decent little combination. Is it actually good? I don't know. Hard to say, but Azag getting a little rear charge there on those spears. He does have to be careful just because Boris is in the near vicinity, and Azag doesn't have much more HP to give. A little bit of handgunner fire as well, kind of chewing a bit more of his HP there. So Boris being so healthy into the late game is going to potentially be a problem here for the Greenskins, but they do have lots of forces left on the ground, collapsing this last pocket of Empire troops. Gabo Big Boss squeaked away from Boris. Boris chasing Azag around the field now, but the Gabo Big Boss is a pretty good opportunity to go after the Deathcaster here, and it does look like Shady Boy is going to get chased down by the Wolf Rider and the Spirit Leech on both sides. Nope. Yep. Both characters getting Spirit Leeched by... No, one of them by Azag, one of them by the other. They need stab, and also popped here down to 6 melee defense on that Amethyst Wizard, 0 armor. The Gabo should be able to deal with him in short order. So that's nice. Getting rid of that Spirit Leech caster gives Azag a degree of safety. Basically, all you have to do now is just not take too risky of melee engagements with him and try and survive. Another Soul Blight here, another good armor debuff on those Great Swords, although it doesn't look like... There we go. Spiky Roll is actually making contact there on that attack. Try to drop a quick Terror Route here with Azag. And it looks like one of the Great Swords Terror Routes, the other one still holding, though, for the time being. Now, there they go. But this ground dive here meant that Boris almost caught Azag there. Instead, peeling and going straight into those Savage Orcs, proccing a Terror Route on them. Big old mess of stuff here right now, though. Just an absolute anarchist engagement. Has a lot of stuff, Terror Routes. Basically, everything on both sides is routing. The Skirmish Cav of the Greenskins pouring in some extra shots here does give them a nice little area of strength. Likewise, Azag comes in, cleans up those Empire Knights, frees up the Durkit Squigs to try and potentially go after Boris here, utilizing that immune psychology to good effect, charging in, finishing off what's left of supporting infantry, and all of a sudden, Boris is a little bit isolated, a little bit alone. Not really a lot of units left to try and support. Handful of spears here, who Azag dives into, tries to get a quick Terror out. Doesn't work, so he's going to need to get out of there to not take too much damage. Likewise, some extra tattered spears here. Charged by Spider Riders. As soon as they get up and start fighting back, they should be okay, but the Flappas trying to contribute a little bit of anti-infantry as well. But Boris has taken basically 0 damage this entire time, and the damage that he has taken has been easily regenerated, so going to be Boris versus the world, more or less, as the Greenskins attempt to clean up what's left of the Empire support units here. Got some Empire Knights charging in to bail out those spears. This armor piercing of the Flappas in a countercharge will do a little bit of damage. The Spider Riders also not complete pushovers, but definitely Boris dropping a terror charge there. Not going to be good for the Greedy Boys, although they just about won that engagement. The Spiky Rollers have to peel out. They don't want to get taken out. Trying to preserve that armor sundering in the late game. Basically just to, let this blob fight Boris a little bit easier once he's, potentially the last thing left for the Empire. But let's see. Savage Orcs coming back from route. Likewise, the Gabo Big Boss, especially with the armor sundering, can actually get in and punch way above his weight class against Boris. 360 weapon strength, definitely no pushover. You can see there, Boris with the poison goes down to 382. Wall being popped now, it's a little bit of a damage. Immune to psychology, everything that you need to fight Boris in melee. Boris is trying to pull away during this uptime, but it looks like the Wolf is going to be fast enough to catch up. Azag goes for a risky dive directly in Boris's face, but a little bit of an issue here is that with all of this cavalry, the Wolf Boy doesn't actually have enough mass to pass through everything. So he's not actually getting any hits. They need stab and is currently active, debuffing the armor down to 55. Spiky Rollers also aren't able to get into contact here, unfortunately, to try and compound that to get to the minus 30 armor. You see the effect drops before they're even able to get any armor sundering at all. And will they? I guess these are the Flappas. What am I talking about? Where's the Spiky Rollers? They already get routed? Maybe they did. I just not even paying attention. Anyway, that would make sense then why there's no armor sundering. But here comes Azag one more. Nope. Nope. Just nope. Tried to get a little cheeky charge there, and Boris just bops him in the face, and that's it. That's pretty much the game. At this point, most things are going to tear out. The Durkit Squigs, though, Azag did manage to pop his odd armor before he died. That's going to give them 43 melee defense, 55 armor, immune to psychology. The leadership's low, certainly, but they are holding for the time being. And let's see if they can hold long enough for the rest of the Greenskins to rally and get back in the fight. Here comes the Gabo Big Boss again, going for a side charge. Nope. Again, it didn't even have to get punched this time. He just decided no because of the leadership situation. So we're going to fast forward somewhat as the Durkit Squigs make a valiant last stand, but are ultimately let down by the rest of the Orcs and Goblins in their army, as nothing can stand against the terror of Boris. and he takes home the win. Man, Boris just an absolute beast in this patch. Always has been, to be honest. But I like the combination of Boris to Death Wizard. You know, I've used this combination against certain Elven factions. Seems to work okay. Against Greenskins, I could certainly see it working also, especially if they don't bring Grom. Grom is obviously going to be able to regenerate through that damage a little bit quicker, but in that case, you just use the Spear Leech on other things, or maybe you still use it on Grom just for the extra chip damage. But Spearmen actually performed very well here. Super cost-effective, low-tier Empire Spearmen. Swordsmen also doing quite well. Great swords, kind of getting dumped all over, but that's to be expected. Empire Knights, though, performed quite well in this matchup. As long as they don't face like too many really hard targets, they actually can cut through a lot of the Greenskins' lighter stuff, which is nice. Handgunner's also getting some pretty good value there. Credit to Glorious Feeder for sending in a loss. You know, it's a fun build for sure. I like the combination of the Soul Blight and the Spiky Rollers. You know, that's... I mean, I straight up forgot Spiky Rollers exist, and they don't even pay for themselves, but it's definitely fun. The Flappas, I think, if you're going to take Pump Wagons, this is my own personal opinion, the Flappas are by far the best, because they have really high charge bonus, and they're the fastest. You could keep them alive, potentially, easier, but they don't really have any synergy value like the Spiky Rollers do. Wow, Dirk and Squigs, though, 1,000 damage value. One of the most underrated regiments for Renown, I think. Greenskins, I mean, they have a lot of really good regiments for Renown. Very cheap ones. Spider Riders also doing awesome. 750, 750, that's really good value. Moonhowl is paying for themselves also. So overall, I really like the build from Glorious Feet. It did come kind of down to the wire, but just not having the tools to finish off Boris in the late game. But what was I going to look at? Oh yeah, Pump Wagons. Here we go. So the reason you don't see Pump Wagons much is, especially with the changes to Boar Chariots, making them cheaper. Like, you have a number of options, actually, for Chariots as the Greenskins. And the Spiky Rollers being all the way up at 900 points now as the most expensive chariot you have access to really doesn't make sense at all to me, considering that you've got, what am I missing here? The Orc Boar Chariot as well. So, I mean, they do count as war machines, not chariots, but essentially you get it. It's a 3-unit anti-infantry armor piercing, or 3-model anti-infantry armor piercing. And we just look here, the Boar Chariot at 750 points actually has the same weapon strength as the Pump Wagons. The best comparison is, again, with the Flappas, where the Flappas have slightly higher charge. 1,200 HP, though, is a huge amount of HP. Not to mention higher leadership and higher armor. Just makes the Orc Boar Chariots much more survivable. Same speed as the Flappas as well. So what that means is then the regular Pump Wagons seem cost-effective on the surface. Their leadership, armor, and low HP means they can die pretty easily, but if you do lose them, you're not losing that much. They even count as expendable, right? So they're not going to give your other units leadership debuffs as they route. And, you know, kind of comparing them to Gobble Wolf Chariots. The Wolf Chariots are much faster. They're going to be much better against low armor targets since they have an additional 3-unit models. Also have a ranged attack. And the extra speed, certainly, and extra HP. 1,700 extra HP means they're just a lot more survivable. The main downside of Pump Wagons is the fact that they're so squishy. But the Flappas, again, it's fastest. They have the best charge. You know, if they didn't have such ridiculously low HP in comparison to the Boar and Wolf Chariots, I would think they'd be a little bit more appealing. The Bogey Splodas, I don't really remember what these guys do, if I'm being honest. It seems like they have an explosion, but I don't know if the damage is actually worth it. They're just a regular type Pump Wagon with that little extra explosion, so, I mean, you're paying 200 points more for a unit that's just as squishy. It's really not going to be super useful in multiplayer. The Spiky Rollers, again, there's fun potential for synergy here, but you more or less have the same stats as the regular Pump Wagons. I guess you have more attack, more leadership. 10 more armor is okay, but it really needs to be higher. They need to have either even higher armor, like up to 70 or 80, or additional melee defense as well. They do have slightly higher weapon strength, I guess, plus 15 weapon strength. Same charge, though. They do cause fear. So there's like some really minor differences, but I mean, if you're looking for Armor Sundering, it's generally much better to take one of the other Armor Sundering units for synergy, Rusty Arrows or the Warlord's Blade. Rusty Arrows especially, since they can sit back, try and avoid melee, and just keep applying that continuously, well, through their ranged fire. Probably the best option for Armor Sundering, but yeah, I mean, Spiky Rollers do exist as well. So there's that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.